Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the virtual chapter for March 2022. What an amazing time we have been having, and what a fantastic month this is. There's all kinds of exciting things going on. For those of you who are attending the virtual chapter tonight, if this is the first time you've been here, or if you've been here a million times, I hope you know that you can get CEUs from IACT or IMDHA if you're a member of those organizations just for spending time with us. All you have to do is to log in on the website for the organization that you're a member of, and your member information comes up, and there's a place for you to say, I spent some time with Michael and Karen and Suzy and Melanie, and I want to be compensated in some way, and they will give you some CEUs for that. So that's how you do that. A couple announcements that I want to make. First of all, the presenter series. So we're looking forward, to the conference that's coming up in when is it? In May. and as we're getting ready for it, we always have every year the presenter series. It starts in March, and what these are presentations from the presenters that will be offering pre and post conference programs at the IMDHA Expo in Orlando in May. The series begins on March 17th. That is, yes, it is St. Patrick's Day. So plan on wearing something green and drinking something green if you wish. But please join us if you can. Those are Thursday evenings. There will be 5 Thursdays in a row starting March 17th. It's the same time as this, 8:30 till 10 East Coast time. So whatever adjustments you need to make. Of course, that's 5:30 Suzy Day over there on the West Coast for you. So we hope it's not too early and doesn't interfere with your serious drinking. But beginning on St. Patrick's Day, 8:30 to 10 our time here, and as I said, and it's on the same login as this. We use the same Zoom login that we use for the virtual chapter. So that's how you get us to there. By the way, Suzy, I'm just rambling on here and have hardly gotten a chance to say officially and on the air in front of God and everybody, hello to you. And you can open up your microphone, of course, and say hi and welcome.
Hello, I am so thrilled and so delighted to be here and share space with everyone tonight. It's unfortunate the circumstances under which I'm co-hosting, although it's probably fortunate for Karen in the long run, but I'm just thrilled and honored to be surrounded by this group of lovely hypnotherapists, and to be part of enhancing our practices. So it's just a joy for me tonight. Thank you very much, Michael.
Great. Well, we really do appreciate you here. And when we get our guests on the air, of course, I'm hoping that you can support me with a few different questions and things to get her going. And then at some point, I think we're probably just going to let her run with it, because I think she knows what she's talking about. But I got a few things I want to ask her, as we get underway.
Yes.
Yeah. So what else? So the President Series I mentioned, and guess what? March, this very month, the 26th and 27th, is Saturday and Sunday, it's a weekend. I will be offering for IACT the Certified Stress Management Consultant training. That's online that Saturday and Sunday. So if you want to get certified as a stress management consultant, that's the opportunity to do it. And you need to contact IACT, of course, in order to take care of that, just at their regular IACT.org email address, or give them a call, and they will help you get hooked up with that. And now here's an announcement that I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I love all of them, but that I'm really looking forward to making, and that is that next month, our guest on the virtual chapter is going to be James Hazelrigs. Some of you know James Hazelrig, wonderful guy, cool hypnotist, and just really, I don't know how to say it, far out groovy guy. He was in a class a number of years ago that was offered through the HPTI, the Hypnosis Practitioner Training Institute at that time, and I was on the faculty for that, and I got to meet him through that. He was a great student, has subsequently become a magnificent hypnotist. And he offered a class for HPTI on the history of hypnosis. And I'll tell you what, I I listened to the recordings from his class. I didn't actually get to attend it live, but I listened to the recordings of his class later, and I have never heard anybody tell the story nearly so well. He's a great storyteller, but not only that, he knows all kinds of little idiosyncratic things about the great teachers and trainers that developed hypnosis and how we got here that most people don't know about. So he's a delight to listen to, and he's going to be offering us the working title that I gave it when I asked him is a Hitchhiker's Guide to the History of Hypnosis. I don't know what he'll actually call it, but it's going to be really nice, pleasant, tongue-in-cheek, and yet really educational stuff as well. So going to be great fun, and I can hardly wait. Does that sound exciting, Suzy?
Over the moon exciting.
Over the moon.
Yeah, over the moon exciting. I'm already ready.
Great. Well, we're going to be coming up to our guests here in another 20 minutes, but in the interim, we have time for a little feature, which is the kind of thing that we've been doing lately. And I think the best use of the features is that they be teaching pieces, stuff that's really relevant and useful to you. And I have here in Orlando a thing that quite frankly was the beginning of what turned into the virtual chapter online. But every month, on the first Monday night of every month for the last, gosh, I think it's like 27 or 28 years now, with some missing months, by the way, during COVID. This is a different thing. I've been running this group that that just does some topic of of interest with regard to personal growth and stuff like that. It was originally developed as a way to expand my practice. I thought, oh gosh, people will come to this amazing group, and and then they'll all want to be my clients, and I will be rich as Midas, and it'll be wonderful. So it continued, and it continued when I moved here to Florida. And at some point, we decided to make it a designated chapter of IACT and IMDHA, but we really weren't getting more people. And I made the mistake. This is a lovely little local group. I made the mistake of trying to expand it by putting a camera in the room. And actually, at first, it was a teleconference, just voice only. So I had my usual group, which was a lovely growing family of people, small family, but about 10 people or so, who showed up monthly to watch me do a radio show. Not what we had been getting together for, not the right thing. So it did damage to my local group, and I decided we needed to separate it out. The virtual chapter went online as a separate entity on the second Tuesdays of the month, some 7 or 8 or maybe even longer years ago. And then eventually it evolved to video, and Karen joined us, and we became who we are now. This is a Hitchhiker's Guide, by the way, to the history of the virtual chapter, just so you know. So here we are on that. But last night, my local Florida group got together again for the first real time. We had one sort of, just a few people last month, but for the first real time since COVID has sort of kept everybody apart from each other. And on the one hand, I am the virtual hypnotist. I've been doing everything online for a long, long time now. But I can't tell you how wonderful an experience it was to be in the same room with other human beings, sharing their diseases, and having a little coffee cake together while we, talked about some groovy stuff related to hypnosis. So I hope for all of you, if you haven't started making those reconnections again, that that you get yourself out there as is appropriate. I'm not talking about being irresponsible or unsafe or anything. So follow your guidance, but wow, the world has been waiting, for us to get back together, and I just love it. Now, not too long from now, of course, we're all going to have the opportunity to do that here in Orlando. Are you coming, Suzy?
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. I'm presenting a 2-hour workshop on Friday, May 13th, and then I'm lecturing on Saturday. Yes.
And what is your workshop?
My workshop is Chakrascape, the 7 energies of healing and empowerment, which is a new protocol that I've developed. It's steeped in like the ancient system of the 7 energies, which represent the universal themes of our lives. It's an amalgamation of energy work and, of course, hypnosis, mindset, somatic imagination and awareness, and the dimensions of personal sovereignty. So it's a mixed bag of new stuff. Yeah.
Well, it sounds exciting, and the whole conference. Gosh, again, to be back together again, and for the first time in Orlando. Our intention was 2020 to move from Daytona Beach to Orlando, and I'm really thrilled about it because, by the way, the convention site is about 5 miles from my front door. It's it's a lovely thing for me. But yeah, it's going to be wonderful. And around that, by the way, just since I'm talking to you, I might mention too, I'm teaching the master trainer training. So for people who want to become certifiers of hypnotists, it's a couple of days before and a couple of days after the weekend, a total of 5 actually training days. And that's going to be exciting because I really acquired that position with IACT just before COVID. And here's the deal. I've never taught a master trainer training for IACT live in the same room with real people, and I'm just so, I'm so looking forward to that. So here's to the excitement. So I mentioned, and before, just in the time we have left here, I mentioned that last night, my first Monday group met. And the topic that we talked about basically centered around imagery and imagination, and how the pictures in our mind really govern so much of our experience. I would say actually our experience, but I'm a real subjective kind of guy. I worked for a fellow some of you are aware of named Jamie Smart. I did some training for him a number of years ago in England. And Jamie at some point sold his company, the NLP and hypnosis training company that he operated, because he had been enamored by this new system, this new way of thinking, this new way of working with clients called the 3 principles. I'm not going to talk a lot about the 3 principles tonight, although I think that's a great discussion sometime because it's a fantastic approach. I really got to say, a very powerful thing. And he found it incompatible with what he was doing in NLP, because he would do sort of some pieces as a demonstration to a class, realizing that this thing that I'm about to do with this client as a demonstration of therapy is going to take about 40 minutes of class time in order to just do this demonstration. And because of this new thing that I've been studying and thinking about, I know that I could actually handle the situation in about 30 seconds. And so for him, it was just too much cognitive dissonance to keep doing it the NLP way. By the way, I think some things are worth it, like, lingering over for 40 minutes, but that's a whole different discussion. In any case, he decided that he was going to stop. He was going to stop training NLP and really focus on this thing called the 3 principles. And in the transition, he sold the business to another guy. And I was really its chief asset. Literally, I had become the principal trainer for this organization. Strange name, by the way. It was called Salad, because they started out as just a language organization, and word salad and language and psychotherapy and etc. So it evolved from this. And so here I was, the guy who taught NLP and hypnosis for Salad, this company in England. And it had been bought by a new guy who really didn't know much about either of those topics, certainly didn't know anything about running a training, flew me back and forth to England a million times to talk about it, which was kind of nice, and took me on some great vacations. And, it took me to Stonehenge, he took me to Salisbury Cathedral. Every time I was there, we would go somewhere, cool. But he just wasn't getting around to doing it. And one day, he said to me, Michael, Salad is my toy train. And I realized that this rich cat that thought it would be really groovy to have a seminar business to play with as a little hobby was in charge of what was at that point in my career 50% or more of my income. So I must say that it freaked me out a little bit, and the inside of my head, right? But as things were changing in that whole transition, even before it got to that point, there were certain things that I was concerned about. They seemed important. I got anxious about it. And I would say to Jamie, the guy who was transferring this all over, Jamie, we got to take care of this. We got to take care of this. We got to take, oh my God, Jamie, this is happening. And Jamie would say to me, Michael, you're really just experiencing the effects of your thinking. And I wanted to hit the guy, I wanted to slug him in the mouth, that just seemed the appropriate response, because I felt so emotionally invalidated. It was like, no, this is no thing. This is just the way you're running your brain, and it's making you nuts. But don't we all know from our experience that the world that we live in, if you think about it, is colored by our assessment of it. Remember our good friend Shakespeare, who says nothing is either right nor wrong, save thinking makes it so. Well, this is really a pretty smart statement, right? And maybe more accurately, we could say save judgment makes it so. But, we get an opinion about something, and then of course we struggle with the effects of living inside that particular, opinion. We take all of the things that we see and understand in the world, and we build some model or some map about how the world's supposed to be, and who are the good people and who are the bad people, right? And all of that stuff. And it's all just stuff that's constructed within us, right? It is our own unique reality. And isn't it weird that we actually walk around in the world next to other people who are living in entirely different worlds, except for some level of overlap that weirdly, miraculously, allows us to have a connection with one another. It's kind of amazing, amazing stuff. But every once in a while, some of you, you're hypnotherapists, I'll bet some of you have had somebody who came into your office one day and said, I want you to make me, I'm here because I want to go to the gym. And I'm thinking, actually, the gym is a block down that way. Why? Then why are you here? And they're like, no, you don't understand. I just can't get myself to go to the gym. And I'm like, well, tell me about the gym. How do you think about it? Why can't you get, and as we start discovering what the world is like inside his head or her head, as the case might be, we find out that this thing that they're thinking about called the gym, when they think about it, is represented in their thinking as a smelly, dingy, everything that could possibly be unattractive about it there, place where they can embarrass and humiliate themselves in front of a whole lot of other people, etc., etc. This whole movie in their mind about how awful it is. Now, if they had that picture, if that's what they thought the gym was like and they wanted to go there, I would think then they must be nuts. Then they need a psychiatrist, right? So it makes sense for them not to be able to get themselves to go to this place that is represented in their internal experience as being so undesirable. And what do we do as hypnotists? A couple of things, but one thing that's a really good idea is to help them start changing those representations, help them start changing the way that they think about the gym so that it'll be something that they will want to do. And to make shifts like that, which is ultimately what it's all about, right? In fact, every interaction that we have essentially begins with here's how things are now. Here's how we want them to be when we're done. Present state, desired state, getting from one to the other is the name of the game. And getting there as quickly and efficiently as possible is, the best thing that we can possibly do. So in the service of that, one of my favorite patterns in neurolinguistic programming and carried over into my work in hypnosis is the Swish Pattern, right? And some of you are familiar with the Swish Pattern, some of you are not. The quick and dirty version of it is simply to say you begin with the present state. And the idea is you want some servo mechanism, if you think about the way that therapy works, some servo mechanism that you can use to turn this into that other thing, that other state, that other way of being, the one that you want, at the end of the day. I'm thinking, by the way, there are a number of ways besides the swish pattern that this could be accomplished. There could be the Wonder Woman technique, so you all know the Wonder Woman, right? So you've got this is the way that it is now, and then you spin around in this circle, and when you're done, you can be somewhere else. If you can, I mean, and it may sound silly, by the way, and please trust me, I'm very serious about this. If you give people a way to represent for themselves the transition from one way of being to another, it is their unconscious mind that can go about the business of figuring out how to affect that transformation most readily. There's an induction that I do all the time where I simply ask a client to notice on a scale of 1 to 10 how comfortable and relaxed they are. Some of you have seen me do this. So they might say, that they're at a 6. And I ask them if they'd like to increase that, if they'd like to be at a 7 or an 8. And they say yes. And essentially, all the suggestions that I give them are, so go inside and take a few moments to begin to make the adjustments, to discover just what it is that will turn a 6 into a 7 or an 8. And they do various things. They relax in certain ways, they change their breathing, they make adjustments, they naturally find their way there. And so these patterns that we really want to get going on in therapy are ways to affect that change. So the swish pattern, I'm running out of time now. It's time for me to introduce our guest. So let me just say this really quickly. The swish pattern involves making a representation of the thing that you're trying to transform. It may be a craving for cigarettes or chocolate fudge brownies we were talking about last night. And there they are on a plate in front of me. I see them and I feel drawn to them. It's really important in the swish pattern that you get that feeling in there because we're trying to change a felt sense. And what you do in the swish pattern is you have also created a representation of your ideal self, the self that wouldn't even begin to think about eating these chocolate fudge brownies if they weren't appropriate, or smoking cigarettes, or whatever it is that you're trying to change, right? There is that ideal self. So the way that I present it is to have that first, the trigger in front of you, whatever the thing is, the chocolate fudge brownies, begin to feel the feeling. And as you begin to feel the feeling, push that picture away. And the submodalities change, of course. As it moves away, it gets smaller and smaller. It goes off into the distance. It becomes a dot in space at the other end of the universe. You could have the color sort of draining out of it as it gets smaller and farther away as well. And then from that dot at the other end of the universe coming back towards you is that image of the ideal self with all of the resources and stuff. And as it draws closer to you, you can feel its power, right? Feel a sense of that resourcefulness. So again, it's a servo mechanism. What you've really done is creating a device that allows you to feel something, to turn it down to a 0 point, really, and then to pull some other feeling up and to bring it up, kind of like running a mixing board in a sound studio. Let's take this track down and bring this one up at the same time. What a wonderful thing to do. So thanks for listening to me. I did run a couple of minutes over. No, I guess I didn't. I'm just about right on time, as a matter of fact. Hey, that's good news, because we do have a great guest for you tonight. In fact, I'm going to go ahead. Suzy, I should give you a minute here and there.
I just have to say, I just the other day, just earlier this week, I worked with a client with the swish pattern, who is one of my smoking cessation clients, who is motivated, and you can't make this shit up, you guys, because he has to have some surgery to have part of his skull replaced. He was in a traumatic automobile accident and in a coma for a couple of weeks, and he's lost part of his skull. It's actually in a freezer right now at one of the hospitals. And I taught him that swish technique, and he caught on like that. And he loved it with every one of those triggers, because I used the Phoenix Freedom, that Michael, that you gave me, that technique. And he loved it. And I just spoke with him yesterday as like the midway point in his program. And he is like in the game doing it. He's loving that technique, doing it 3 times, and he's just mastered it. Just amazing.
Right.
So it's just, yeah, it's just incredible that would be kind of the topic for tonight. And I love that you shared about that because it's so, so powerful.
It's really one of my favorite things. The other thing that I quickly will mention in terms of troubleshooting it, when it doesn't work well, it doesn't work for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it doesn't work because, and the first time that I created an ideal self-image, it was so ridiculous because it wasn't anything that I really wanted. In fact, I described it to a class. Now, this is just for the record, this is like in 2000, so 20 some years ago, right? I was describing to a class about this experience that I'd had 20 years before that of creating this ideal self that was just too perfect. And I said to my class in 2000, it was just too clean, I said, too white bread, I said, too thinking hard for the right word, to Pat Boone, I said. And I realized that I was looking at a room full of people that had no idea who I was talking about. And somebody said, who is Pat Boone? And I said, oh God, I've got to update this. I said, well, okay, to Donnie and Marie. And I swear to God, this kid sitting in the front row, the youngest student in the class, said, who is Donnie and Marie? And I realized that there were no more contemporary models of wholesomeness in that extreme at all. So so in any case, make sure that it's something you want, and really adjust it, make it realistic. How would you be if you were the person who had the particular qualities and resources, that you need in order to handle that situation? The other thing that every once in a while, I get somebody who will say, I created that ideal self, and she's absolutely lovely, or he's absolutely lovely, but I find out that I'm not sure that I really deserve that. Now here, by the way, you've got a whole other therapeutic issue to deal with, man. This is this is something that says, step out of that one for a minute, and let's go over here. But I don't think it really takes a lot to convince people that if they look around at the world and notice, who's like having the high life and who's not, that deserving really doesn't have anything to do with anything. And whoever gave them that bullshit, can just keep it. Because life isn't about deserving anything, because you don't got to prove yourself to anybody. Who's in charge of all this? Arguably, this is an artifact of a moralistic religious society, that has some sort of, you gotta deserve stuff because that's how you get to heaven, for example, or whatever it is. And it's all about the eternal scorecard. It just isn't true. But not only that, if they've created some magnificent future self that they're looking forward to manifesting, rather than thinking about whether they deserve to be that, what I would ask them is, look at that ideal self you're creating. Doesn't he or she deserve to come into this world and to express herself or himself through you in your life? And that kind of turns it around. So there's that. The only other thing that stops it from working, sometimes people say, I don't get any good pictures. Tell them to just imagine they've got pictures, but to notice what it feels like when they think about being in that unwanted situation, and what the feelings are that are associated with that positive state that they want to get at the end. And literally, people that are more kinesthetic than visual can have the experience of moving feelings out of their body and bringing in another felt sense. And quite often, by the way, you'll find out that the pictures then start to show up as well. And isn't that lovely? Okay, well, there we are. The Swish Pattern. I hope if you haven't been using it that you do. And if you need to find out more about it, I'm sure that just a little Google will give you more articles on the Swish than you can shake a stick at. And do you know how many articles you can shake a stick at? It's a lot. So check it out. All right. Well, now our guest tonight is Melanie McCool, and boy, I just love her name. Don't you love her name, Suzy? Isn't that a McCool name? And I know she knows it. People have probably gone on and on with her, about this all the time. But hey, groovy is as groovy does. So Melanie McCool is the entrepreneur's clinical hypnotherapist and a certified master trainer of hypnosis with IACT. She works primarily with entrepreneurs who are driven to succeed, but don't want to sacrifice their health or what they love in order to achieve their income goals. With more than 20 years experience as an entrepreneur, she combines the neuroscience of success, money, mindset, sales, confidence training, hypnosis, and NLP to quickly remove subconscious blocks and end the cycle of procrastination and self-sabotage. And Melanie's mission is to facilitate your breakthrough so you can reach your highest potential. So we're really excited about having her here. Melanie, is your microphone open? Say hello.
It sure is. And I'm so grateful to be here today. When I was invited to speak on this topic, I just thought, oh my goodness, I get to share my heart. I get to share essentially why I became a hypnotherapist in the first place. But I also get to be I get to be a case study. You get to kind of hear at what your clients might show up to you with, right? And then I'm going to explain to you the way I experienced my own healing, and then I apply it with what are now my clients.
Wonderful.
Okay? Yeah.
By the way, Melanie, you anticipated the very first question that we always love to ask people that are on this program is, how did you happen to find your way into hypnosis? What brings you here, my lady?
Well, the fact is I had experienced true burnout, and not just burnout in the sense that people talk about it, they're stressed out, burned out. I literally burned out physically. And having been in the world of personal development for virtually all of my life and being a health nut all of that time, I knew that it wasn't purely a health issue, right? That, yes, I had drained my adrenals, burned out my adrenals. And by the time I even noticed that I was experiencing a stress disorder, half of my thyroid had been burned out. And they told me I had something called hyperthyroidism. So it was and I was like, oh, so it turns out I'd been living with this stress disorder all this time. I didn't know the symptoms. I couldn't have, and nobody said anything to you. It was literally a conversation with a real estate friend of mine who said, I feel so much better after having my thyroid, blah, blah, blah. And I reached up and I touched my neck and I realized there was something not right. And knowing that it wasn't just a physical thing, it wasn't, people were like, oh my gosh, your diet, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm the health nut of health nuts. I always have been. And I knew it was psycho-emotional. Okay. That's the way I thought of it. And so I looked for the key. I wanted the most succinct way to help me to get from where I was, which was essentially taken out of my career. And I was a teacher, speaker, trainer, leader, international sales team leader. And I was a networking nut. I was speaking in the community and a networking nut. I couldn't do anything. I was at home. I essentially had lost my mind. Okay, this is the facts. The clients may present feeling like they lost their mind. Okay. Yeah. And so I sought hypnotherapy. When I learned, I was like, okay, so this is stuff that's going on at the subconscious level. That's where I need to go. And I reversed all of that, and really very, very quickly. Nice. So with that, I was just literally in tears going, I have to do this thing.
Sure.
So having been taken out of my career, I said, well, I'm reinventing myself, and I'm now a hypnotherapist. That's what I must do. It's my calling. This is who I get to be, apparently. So yeah.
So you went to a hypnotherapist because of the burnout you were experiencing, and that's what made you decide to become a hypnotherapist? What?
Yes, and I was doing and in the process of that, I was able to reverse a lot of the underlying symptoms that I was experiencing. I was running anxiety. My heart rate was out of control. I had palpitations, my hair was falling out, muscle wasting, metabolism. It's like I'm being chased by a lion all the time. And those symptoms came down. So then I started to really understand. I would say I started to develop metacognition even then. So I was starting to understand what these underlying programs were that were keeping me in this loop of overworking, spending it all or giving it away, and then having to make it again. And so I started to see it, and but essentially there's initial symptoms in my brain. As we know, the brain literally changes under that amount of anxiety and stress. Got my brain back, and I was like, okay, those underlying programs can no longer run in this system. And so I started to really pinpoint them for myself, and it made a world of difference. And yeah, I created rules for my life so that I will never, ever find myself in that situation again.
Melanie, was there a straw, if you will, that broke the camel's back in terms of, do you remember, was there a day or a moment when you recognized, part me for saying this way, but Jesus Christ, something is happening to me here, and I need to go see a hypnotist?
Yes, it was when I was in the emergency room, and the doctors were treating me like I was a neurotic woman until I finally told them this might be a thyroid storm, which is really darn dangerous. But I think it was that point because they were treating me like I had something wrong in my head. And I was like, well, I'm going to go get some help for this thing that's wrong in my head, even though it's in my body and it's everywhere else. So I was like, so that would have been it. It would have been the second time I found myself in the emergency room. Wow. For heart palpitations. I'm afraid, literally going, all right, I'm dragging myself to the hospital after the heart palpitation experience because I want to still be here for my kids, you know? So just when I was well enough to get my buns to the hospital, I got there. So that was it. I was like, this is gotta go. I gotta stay. Gotta be here for these kids.
I have to say, I love those pivotal moments because they're so impactful and so life-changing. When you're sitting there in the ER and they're looking at you as if you're a whack job, mm-hmm. and you know there's something different and something else available to you. Those are the most, I have found, impactful, redirectional, important elements and moments in our lives that bring about those changes that I think have kind of been underlying, because I'm suspecting you might have had some kind of insight about that beforehand.
Oh yeah.
But it's been underlying and maybe ignored up until that moment. I call it a spiritual 2x4. Poof, right up against the head.
Feather rock truck. You know that one? Yes, this truck ran me over. Yes. Yeah. And then there was another pivotal moment. And so the underlying, I will give that to you, because some people will ask you, well, I meditate. Why would you help me better than meditation? And I was meditating like a mofo. I know that sounds insane. How do you meditate like a mofo? I promise you, I was sitting in meditation for all my life just to try to get my heart to be chill. Okay. Yeah. And I literally was in there and I came up against the wall, which we all know now what that wall is. And I was like, somebody's going to get me through this wall. There's something on the other side of this wall. I can't see. I can't figure this out. I don't know why this is running. And somebody's going to help me. And that's where Hypnotherapist came in. It's like, knock down that wall, get on the other side and help. Thank you very much.
You know, Melanie, there's something in here, and forgive us for interrupting you so much.
That's fun. Thank you.
There's something in here that just absolutely amazes me. And it's the paradox that, remember, I'm the guy that does the stress management consultant course, and I've got some interesting things that I could say about this, but I'm leaving this to you tonight. But the one thing that I'm real clear about is, as entrepreneurs are people typically that by nature tend to push themselves and may not know where to stop. On the other hand, the old model about stress was that we should do all the things that we could do to avoid having any stress in our life. And I'm like, there's nobody in the world that's ever accomplished anything without having stress in their life. The very idea of, well, I would discover America, but, it's just going to be too difficult on the boat.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So we're torn between these two things about going forward, pressing forward, and finding the mindset, the magic word in here, to be able to do that in a way that will serve us rather than
it's beautifully sustainable, right? So, and you're right, they find the on switch and nobody told them where the off switch was. That's a big part of it. And we can, if we can identify and we help them to identify what the underlying programs were that are essentially limiting beliefs about what's available to them, right? We help them to do that. Then we can help them through their incredible subconscious genius mind come up with ways that they continue to work, create impact in the world, enjoy their success, right? And maintain their health. Like all of this is possible. It's not either or. Either I'm successful or I get to spend time with people I love, take care of my health and be happy, right? It's not either or. But the underlying programs are basically saying either or.
Yeah.
And that's why they're running in the way that they are. So that mindset piece is so darn critical. And that's the underlying thing all around. When I figured out what was going on with me, and then having worked with thousands of entrepreneurs for about 20 years, you can see these patterns that repeat over and over again, no matter where people live on the planet. And it really is, I think of it as the limiters, some people call them a values conflict, or it's just simply something like it takes hard work to make money. So if I say that, those billionaires must be freaking exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah. To make money, right? It's crazy.
And very deserving as well.
Right. And they don't feel guilty at all about the money that they're making, which is what a lot of us feel. Like when I was doing incredibly well, I felt like I had to keep working because it takes hard work to make money. And I would feel guilty if I wasn't doing the work and showing that I was a lovable, respectful adult doing the work. So even when I didn't need to work at all, I would work, I would create work. And then, as I said, I would spend it all because rich people are jerks was one of my underlying programs. I was to spend it all, which would, of course, put me right back in the cycle of got to work hard, go, around and around and around until I just about killed myself. But because become very passionate about helping women and men and people who have a desire to create impact. Even before I was a hypnotherapist, I had to say, if I could have described to you what I did or wanted to do for people long before I was a hypnotherapist, it was to literally help people to break the shackles, break off the chains of their limited minds so that they could do all that their amazing adult mind, and I think of it as adult, now that you're adult, all that your beautiful mind can envision. So breaking those shackles off. First, you got to know what the shackles were. I figured them out, got those out of the way. And then, there's some other things that I do with my clients, but that's like kind of like the core of it is like, get rid of those limiting beliefs that are keeping you running around on a freaking hamster wheel.
Yeah. Well, and at the very beginning, I mean, even if they're not already stressed out or burned out, at the very beginning of their contact with you, they're seeking some kind of support or something, and just doesn't indicate that they already know that something's coming, right? That this is about excitation. This is about making your heart beat a little bit faster from time to time, and about being able to manage that experience.
Yeah, it's actually like getting the sympathetic to work, but in the good fashion as well, right? We always think of the sympathetic nervous system as the stress hormones, but there's also enthusiasm.
Yeah. Well, exactly, right. I want to
is that
as often as possible, and yet, right? Isn't that the dangerous territory? That's the gray zone. Turn it up just a little too much. We were talking about submodalities earlier, right? Turn it up just a little too much, and thrilled becomes, oh my God. You know,
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Over the top. Yeah. So I thought, me being the case study, I've given some of the symptomology, symptoms I was experiencing, but I figured I'd just kind of give some things that you may see your clients show up with. I do have just a couple little slides here, I think, if I can share my screen.
do I need to give you permission to do that? Here, it should work now.
Cool. All right. And I'm not gonna, if I hit the whole thing, you know what's gonna happen. Let's see, slideshow. Ta-da! All right. So when you're on that initial call with people, right, they may not say, oh, I'm burned out. They may not, but you're gonna hear certain language. They're going to say certain things that are going to indicate that they're in this place, and they may not be burned out already. They may be on the way. There's this whole spectrum. There's like, okay, I'm starting to lose it. And some people are going to come to you when they're starting to lose it. Great, good. Some people are going to be all the way at the other end, having burned out half their thyroid. Okay. Any which way, I promise you, I'm sitting here telling you, you have the tools to help them. Okay. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. So you may hear them saying things like, they feel like they should be further along than they are. They're overwhelmed. They've got too much to do. They may have heard this fancy term for, imposter syndrome. Yes, I'm extremely successful, but I don't feel like I deserve it, or I should, or I'm good enough, or whatever all these things are. And loss of control over their time is a big one. They may even tell you, I have big goals and dreams, maybe even an income goal that they tell you, but they just don't know how the heck they could accomplish it without killing themselves. And they may not use exactly that language, but they literally mean that, because it's hard to make that money when you're in this space where, with the limiting beliefs, the values conflicts. It's like you have one foot on the gas saying, go, 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 and the other one's going, it's a really bad thing for the motor. Okay. The system's running really wrong. But it becomes so much easier for them, I promise you, when they are coming at approaching their business again from back in a place of having, a peaceful neurochemistry. And so they may start like this, and then they may, as you're asking them, what are they actually experiencing? What is this stress that they're under? What is, have you seen anything? You will find insomnia is going to be one of the top things that they'll come to you. Like insomnia, anxiety. You may need to ask them a few questions so that they understand that they're experiencing anxiety. Here I was at the time, 43 years old. I had no idea I'd been running around with anxiety all this time. No idea what that was. I was confident, like, no way. I did stuff. You wouldn't think that anxiety and what I was doing could possibly go hand in hand, and they were. And then you may find digestive issues, their libido decreased or completely absent, major issue. They may tell you that they're dependent on alcohol or drugs, trying to bring themselves out of that stressful state. And on the far end, you may have something like an autoimmune condition, and autoimmune conditions, different ones. And so as they present like this, what I really love about hypnotherapy is that even though we may not understand what our clients are actually dealing with, more than half the time, we haven't actually lived through what it is that they've been through, right? Yes, I have, but it doesn't mean that you don't have the same tools that I use, same tools to help them. And so essentially what I do for my clients is we are helping them to regain the neurochemistry of bliss is what I think of. The neurochemistry of bliss, to neutralize the biochemistry of the stress that their bodies have been under. And second, so first, it's literally a body thing. It's really a subconscious thing. Let's neutralize the stress that's in your body. If they are experiencing anxiety, panic attacks, even agoraphobia, which I've had all of them, incredible entrepreneurs that are completely taken out, right? Then you've got to hit that stuff, especially well, insomnia out of the way. But essentially, we are reteaching them to how to access the resources so they can neutralize the biochemistry of stress in their body. Secondly, we teach them, or we let them know that the number one stressor is what Michael talked about a little earlier today, which is the thing that's going on between their ears, right? So their thoughts are causing most of the stress. I mean, yes, there's stress from their overworking, from maybe the bad foods they put in their body, the long hours, the alcohol, drugs, sleeping pills, all those things. That's stress too. But what they don't realize, and what the world doesn't know, but we know, is that the number one cause of stress in their bodies today and 24/7 is the stuff that's going on in between their ears. And so we address that. And those things can come up in many ways, but you may find with entrepreneurs that their inner critic is raging, absolutely raging. So that's gonna be the most stressful thing that they're experiencing 24/7. And so, having those tools to shrink that critic, install a cheerleader, getting them back to that self-coaching, that self-supporting place becomes one of the most important pieces that I do with entrepreneurs all day long. Yeah. And with that, the inner critic is kind of a part, and I know I see you unmuted there, Michael, but I just want to say, because I love to talk about this, because you all know what I'm talking about. The inner critic is kind of a part. So we can let this incredible entrepreneur know that, you know what, that way of driving yourself early on in life, it got you where you are. You know so much, you've done so much, you've accomplished so much. It's freaking amazing. But it ain't working no more, is it? No, it's killing you. So we could ditch the critic and keep running with the skills that you've already established and accumulated, become part of you. And that's something that them growing through is just, it's incredibly powerful. They're like, oh yeah.
Melanie, the reason I unmuted my microphone is just when you mentioned you mentioned the phrase inner cheerleader. And of course, there's the inner critic, which we all know about. But honest to God, I couldn't help but think that I've been very good at this. I know a lot about anxiety and stress and how to create it. I mastered this. I got the t-shirt and everything.
Yes.
And in the service of doing that, I built myself an inner cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you really need to have that. And except the only thing is that I worked it so hard that my inner cheerleader burned out,
Oh, goodness. Well, you can get a coach, get the coach for both the cheerleader and the team and you can get one of those instead.
or you can get a cheer squad.
Yeah,
right?
the whole
Back
squad.
in high school, it wasn't one cheerleader on the field. It was a squad. So get a squad, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't tell you some of the miraculous things that I've had my clients experience from crushing that inner critic, even down to, and it wasn't the intention for this client when we started, but even down to the fact that she and her husband were overworking, not enjoying their lives at all, were burning out, buying things, toys, and she found herself trapped in this world that she created. Crushing the inner critic, this woman and her husband decided to sell all their toys and drive around this country in an RV instead. Like, she's like, I don't have to work myself to prove that I'm good enough anymore. I'm freaking amazing. You know? So that's pretty wild. Then there's the negative thought loops. Okay, so negative thought loops aren't exactly the same as an inner critic. You might have somebody who calls you up and all they can do is talk about the crap that's happened to them. Just when they're on the phone, crap, 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 crap. And whenever anybody's doing that, I'm not really listening much. And I'm going, okay, no problem. We can ditch that too.
Yeah.
And in that, I have a beautiful testimonial where somebody came just like that. And within 4 months, this insurance agent had changed companies, gone to a new one, become a national sales, whatever the heck they are, and got top producer, was flown to Beverly Hills to be, totally wined and dined and enjoying the Beverly Wilshire. And he just all we did was get rid of those negative thought loops, the painful experiences that he was reliving in his freaking brain every day. That's all we did. I mean, we did some other things too, but it's that powerful. And, these aren't processes. This isn't, something that it's available to all of us to help them to ditch those negative thoughts. And essentially they come to you, they may be angry, resentful, and unable because of the stress that they've been under. They're using their imaginations in the wrong direction. Right? That's it. That's all this, that's really what's going on. They're using their imagination in the wrong direction. So they might have started their career, feeling really inspired, enthusiastic, on fire. And then they're like, and then all they can see is more stress, more pain. Then they're making decisions from that place, which give them more of the same over and over again. They find themselves in that loop. And I did mention procrastination and self-sabotage because those are the things that come up most often. Now, and I think they identify more with those, like, I'm procrastinating. Why am I procrastinating now? Well, again, if you've got negative thoughts around your business, you're feeling resentful and angry about it, your brain's going, oh, you don't want that? I lead you away from pain. So I'm going to have you procrastinate. And it also may be a freaking life-saving response. Oh, you're overworking? I'm going to make you do nothing. Sit down and stop, right? And that's but they may very well talk to you about, I'm procrastinating. Now I'm feeling even more guilt and shame because I'm procrastinating. All right, all of that stuff going on, and that negative biochemistry just stirring up.
I had mentioned earlier this thing, the thing with Jamie Smart, or my partner in England, that I had talked about, and how Jamie would say, you're experiencing the effects of your thinking. That's what the experience is. So yeah. We're living in a world where where all of that stuff is going on, and oh my God, it's terrible in there, isn't it?
And but the real thing that I think we're all aware of, this is all happening and they're feeling awful emotionally. They're feeling all, but the World Health Organization has listed overworking as a leading cause of death. Okay, so this is a real thing. And the leading cause of death for women is still heart attack. Okay, so, and just as a observation, I have no stats to prove this, but I've been an entrepreneur for a really long time. I've heard many, many, many stories. Many type A overachiever types probably experienced trauma as a youth. So they're going into, Suzy's like, yep, you're right. Absolutely. And so they're going into this thing already with a level of stuff going on underneath that has affected their, and that's the whole ACEs and the experience of health problems that people have because of negative childhood experiences. All of that's built into this story and this puzzle. So here they are now, they've made it, their success in the world, but all of this stuff is going on underneath the surface, and really, going after the heart, everything becomes dysregulated. So knowing what you're doing is far more important even than what they are maybe coming for. You're literally like saving a life, like you're helping a smoker to ditch something that's killing them. Okay. So our job I'm just going to go through the steps, and I'm pretty sure we can fit in a kind of, even though this is done over many sessions, I've got a kind of abbreviated session that kind of encompasses the things that I feel like is our job. Okay, so we're going to go through a process here in a minute. But number one, I mentioned it was to help them to neutralize the biochemistry of stress. And you probably have many different processes that you'll do to help them to reach into their resources. I love to use heart coherence because it's something they can do anytime, anywhere. Two is to ditch the negative thinking, which is the source of that 24/7 toxic neurochemistry. Men, when it gets fun, is after they're feeling so much better and they're sleeping better and they're nicer to the people around them, and they're like, is you have them commit to the things that they haven't given themselves time for. So that, most importantly, will be doing things like play and daydream, because type A overachievers, burnout people have been working to prove that they are a good, lovable human since they were very young, right? Can't play. You're a lazy ass if you're playing, right? So they get to play and daydream, put their imagination going in the right direction, but also for the health habits, time with their friends, their family, that all the things that are so like, then just make a fully rounded life. You actually help them to reconnect and recommit to those things. Their lives begin to transform right in front of their eyes. And then the crazy thing is, and what no one in the world is going to tell them, but you know, is that you teach them that they are going to take action from this blissful state, from this blissful neurochemistry, and that they can, and you set them up with the right kind of questions. Well, how could you make more money with less work? You ask them crazy questions that the world would never present to them, because that's what we get to do, right? Well, how could you accomplish that same goal, but also get your sleep and hang out with your wife and kids and make the juice in the morning, whatever the heck it is that they say that commit to? How could that be possible? You set their mind on that, and you can watch them. You can watch it unfold, that they then get to have just as, if not more impact. There is more impact. There's no question. More impact with and feeling really good. I actually opened my downtown practice because I had this vision of working with the local business people, the owners, and helping them to be happier, to be more joyful, knowing that that would make a ripple effect in my own community. That was my vision. I'm like, I'm going to go and hypnotize the business owners so they feel really good, and everyone around them gets the benefit, right? So yeah, that's it. That's a space. It's ditch negative. Well, clear up, help them with negative biochemistry, ditch negative thoughts, commit to bringing their prosperity back into life, all the different parts of their lives that they've been neglecting, and then take action from blissful neurochemistry. So they're staying in the game, they're staying in business. They're, we're not just going, okay, so now that you had burnout, you got to go and like get a job at, I don't even know what, no, they're going to stay in their world, in what they have freaking worked their ass off to get to, wherever they are, but be there in a place where they're handling the stress in a completely different way. So, yeah.
I was really interested in the middle of that about there were quotes around it. You said, how can you make more money with less effort, or something like that, something.
Yeah.
And what I noticed is how there are so many things presupposed in a question like that. And when it is filtered through negative thoughts, but because here's what I heard inside of my head. I don't know what it was like inside of your head when you said it, Melanie. Things inside of my head. One of them said, well, how can you make more money, working less? like in other words, well, the answer is obviously no. How ridiculous you are, you dumbass, for even thinking about it that way. Versus the
That's what people think. They're like, that's nuts.
well,
Or what? How the
is,
heck could that be? If I get to daydream more, I make more money. Are you crazy? And I said, you know what? Yeah, because your genius mind gets to turn back on.
that's
So
right.
you can either trust me and watch yourself do what I did. Thank you very much. Or you can argue with me, go, no, the world says I got to work my ass off for the rest of my life if I want to have success.
So internal question, the same exact internal question with from a mindset of possibility.
Yes.
Oh, how can you make more money and work less? Let's
yes, it's exactly right. Like it feels like, oh, how could that be true? What would it take? How could it be easy that I could make just as much or more income and creating more impact and work fewer hours? That's just a simple question. And I put you pose those questions. You don't look for initial answers. You know how it works. Those questions run around in your subconscious mind until the answers start to percolate up, and then you take action on those.
That was my response. Polar opposite of yours, Michael. It was like a speed bump or a wall in the road that went, how could I? I mean, it like cracked open the door of possibility for me to consider other options.
How might it be easy?
Yes, exactly.
Even now.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of those questions are there. I mean, it's the same question, right? And the difference is the mindset that runs it.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for the distraction.
No, it's good. I just have so many other pieces that I want to give you. And just one more. I can try to squeeze this in, which is identifying where the speed bumps are for people, right? So let's say they haven't spent a whole lot of time with their family. I'm just pulling one of the things because it happens, right? Work takes them away from family. I have them create what I call forward and backward affirmations, which is this thing that kind of dissolves the values conflict. Okay, so the values conflict is if I want to have success, then I have to ignore my family, which is a terrible thing, right? That's the conflict. So forward and backward affirmation says, the more time I spend with my family, the more my business grows. Like, what the heck is that? The more my business grows, the more I spend time with my families. Oh, that works. But do you see how the first part is like, that's twisted. It doesn't make any sense. That's where you stay and you work with it. You go, no, actually, how can that be true? That the more time I spend with my family, the more my business grows. And then you go, oh yeah, I remember because you said that when I play more, my creative mind comes on board. I can come up with those genius ideas and my business can go better. This is the whole way the whole thing works. But having that tweak, that one that makes you go, that doesn't make any sense. Well, hammer in on that one and make that one true for your subconscious mind. And that values conflict falls away. And then you can be with your family and go, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this thing in the first place. To spend more time with these people. And you can they'll watch their business grow. Nice. Just because they're doing that thing. Yeah. Good. Cool. All right. So I feel like I can squeeze in a little process here, but we could all use a little hypnosis.
Oh, sure.
Are we good? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we can leave a couple of minutes at the end for any questions that anybody has. Yeah. And again, this is something that's done over, weeks with people, of course, because their beautiful brains are changing back to their healthy state. But you can walk. I find that when I'm walked through a process, it helps to kind of cement in what I'm supposed to be remembering to do with my clients. So we're going to go through this in a rapid fashion. So I hope that you can remember, oh yeah, those are the steps for me to take my clients through. Okay. So we'll begin with some heart coherence. And so you can just allow yourself this comfortable space where you are. You may want to put one hand on that beautiful heart of yours, or both. and one on your belly. I always feel very grounded when I have one on my belly, one on my chest. And you can take a nice deep breath in and just close your eyes right on down. And you can just take a few deep breaths into that belly to begin, filling the lower abdomen, perhaps taking the deepest breath of the day and stretching those lower ribs and letting it go slowly. Just taking a couple of those nice deep breaths all the way down. That's right. And then you can bring your attention right to the center of your chest, putting your attention on your beautiful heart. And you can breathe in and out your heart, just imagining your heart is like the lungs that it nestles so gently in. Imagine that your breath is coming in and out through the heart space. I imagine the heart expanding in this space. And then bringing to the mind, and perhaps even as a Polaroid picture placed right in the center of your beautiful heart, you can bring to mind an image, something that brings love to your being. Care, appreciation, gratitude, or love. Just imagine it right there in the middle of your beautiful heart. And as you breathe in and breathe out, your body is being flooded with a beautiful neurochemistry of love. It's flooding every single cell of your being from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, bathed in this love that is you. That's right. And this wonderful neurochemistry, it is a balm. It is a balm to everything that has come before it. It's a healing, completely beautiful, healing love, and it comes from you. You can just allow yourself to float in this bliss, this love. It may grow through this experience. You may find that your heart is brought into the experiences that you get to have here over the coming moments. That love for yourself is brought into every moment here and now. And now you can get a sense of feeling. You can make believe that you're standing at the top of 5 solid steps. Steps that lead down to a beautiful beach. And the weather is absolutely perfect, just the way you like it. It's a glorious day. And as you step down these 5 solid steps, you'll find yourself becoming even more deeply relaxed and in the moment here and now. As you step down, as you reach the bottom, you'll find yourself on that beach, staring out across that beach. And so with 5, as you step down, 4, feeling more relaxed and at ease. With 3 and 2 and 1, you can step right out onto that beach and just take a nice deep breath in, filling those lungs, filling your heart space. Really smell the sea air as you look out across the sea, across the ocean, the colors in the water reflecting in the sun. And you can hear the ocean waves. You can really just be there, feeling the sun on your skin, the wind on your face. And as you stand there at the water's edge, I'd like you to consider any and all of the negative thoughts that you've maybe been experiencing around perhaps your life. Maybe thoughts about yourself, other people, your business, stresses, worries. You can just take a moment and consider any of your negative thoughts that you've had in your head. Knowing those thoughts, they really don't serve us any purpose. They may not even be real. All of those what ifs that maybe haven't even happened. Maybe for a while you could let go of some of those things that don't even need to bother you right now. And as you look down at your feet, you notice some pebbles that have been worn smooth through eons in the waves of the ocean. And you can reach down and pick up some of those pebbles and write on them words, the images perhaps, that represent those negative thoughts, feelings, emotions. And when you're ready to let go of them, you can simply imagine throwing them out to the ocean, to the sea, every last one, tossing them right away. And then I'd like for you to create an image in your mind. This is your very own bliss image. And you can see yourself there feeling amazing, feeling at ease in the world, looking calm, really living in the moment. And I wonder what it is about you that lets you know that you're feeling so darn good. Is it a look on your face, your posture? Perhaps you're just doing some of the activities that make you feel really good. And you can make it bright, make it really real in the now, in the moment. Be there, making it bright. Turn up the volume. And then each and every time you find yourself with any of those negative thoughts in your mind, any of those what ifs or self-doubts, you'll immediately become consciously aware that you're thinking negatively, and you'll find a way, your way, to dump those unhelpful thoughts. You might imagine throwing them out into the sea or in the nearest garbage can, but you'll find a way. Your way of dumping those thoughts, immediately replacing them with your very own bliss image. And you can find yourself feeling calmer, more relaxed, and putting all of those happy life guidelines, those commitment to self that you've made in place, and knowing that you can feel more enthusiastic about your work. Now you can feel a smile, a beautiful smile come to your lips. And take that smile right to the core of you, back down into that belly. Feel that smile in your heart. And just say inside, in your own blissful mind, I live with a happy heart. I live with a peaceful mind. I live with a playful spirit. And I deserve everything that this beautiful life has to offer me. Happiness, health, love, family, adventure, fun, laughter, success, all of it. Very good. Now I'll count you back up to full consciousness. But before I do, in this beautiful, wonderful state of bliss, you can ask yourself a question. What is my next right step? I know that you're going to feel compelled, inspired, feeling really good about taking that action. You can begin to come back. As you come back, these wonderful feelings will stay with you long after this ends. With 1 and 2, you can feel yourself coming up, taking a nice deep breath up behind your eyes, left brain, right brain illuminated. 4 and 5, eyes open all the way back, feeling fantastic. And well done.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very pleasant.
Mhm.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so fun to hypnotize the hypnotists.
Right?
Yay! Dennis is gone. That's great.
All right. Well, listen, we're already 5 minutes away from the end here. So just really quick, I want to make sure and mention. In fact, I asked Melanie to give me this information. Melanie, tell us about the Bliss Challenge.
Sure. So this is a give back from my heart. It really is for everyone, though it's geared towards the entrepreneurs that I know are riddled with stress. And so the Bliss Challenge essentially walks people through what I've just described for you. And I tell them, what they can do to neutralize the biochemistry of stress. And I give them several processes over a few days. And I have people who are compliant with this and are in my inbox telling me the results that they're getting from this experience. It's completely free. And it is really it's from my heart. It's like literally want to save your hearts. So come and take the Bliss Challenge, enjoy it, and know that it's, it comes from experience, not just theory.
Great. And that's available for them to access online at www.bliss-challenge.com. So Bliss
That's
Challenge,
right.
make sure you put that hyphen in the middle of it, www.blisschallenge.com. Sounds like a wonderful thing. So check it out. Gosh, I wish we could take some questions, but truth is we really do got to wrap it. My father was a railroad conductor, and I've got this compulsion about clocks and time, and it's really about keeping our agreement to our participants as well, so that they can get back to their lives. So we want to thank everybody for being here. I want to remind you again that the presenter series begins Thursday, March 17th for 5 weeks, Thursday night from 8:30 to 10 o'clock East Coast time. So same time period as this, same login as this, and you'll be seeing emails and stuff about it coming from IACT and IMDHA as well if you're a member of that group. But even if you're not, you're certainly welcome to come to this. So come to it. Certified Stress Management Consultant Training, March 26th and 27th. Register through iact.org or give them a call at the center there. Next month, James Hazelrig is going to be our guest, talking about the history of hypnosis and some just amazing stories that he has to share with us. So we're really looking forward to that. By the way, on the 23rd, is it 23rd to 4th? I'm off. One of those 2 days, whatever is the Saturday of that weekend, Melanie McCool, I understand, is going to be joining those of us in Florida at the Hypnosis Education Association meeting for one day in Oldsmar over by the Tampa Bay area. So, hey, that is going to be so really cool. I was talking earlier about, getting together with people in the same room. We're going to get to have a chance to do that. And I'm going to be able to verify for everybody that Melanie McCool is a 3-dimensional human being. So looking forward to seeing you.
April 23rd, Michael.
23rd. There you go.
April 23rd, Saturday.
Yeah. So, and if you want to know anything about the HEA, if you're in Florida or if you want to come to Florida for it, it's heahypnosis.com is the website. So you can find out all the groovy details there. So thanks everybody. And now here's what we're going to do. You are all welcome, everyone, to open up your microphones so that in a great cacophony of love and appreciation, we can send Melanie off with our thanks and gratitude. So open up your mics and say good night. So good night, Melanie, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Melanie. That was
Thank
beautiful.
you.
So much.
Bye. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
We
Bye-bye.
will see you all next month. Bye-bye now.